Howdy folks, it's me, Josh. Since I've been real busy lately, I decided that for today's video, why not make something short, quick, and easy? Wait, I feel like I've said that before. Which reminds me, for today's video, I'm bringing back something I haven't done on this channel for a good long while. If you can remember, I made a video almost a year ago in which I used an AI text generator to create an alternate history prompt, then asked some people to create a scenario based around whatever I ended up using. So, I held a contest in my Discord server, which you should still join by the way, and the submissions that you guys gave were absolutely amazing. It was genuinely difficult to pick a scenario, but after some careful thought, I managed to pick one, which is what you'll be seeing in today's video. The prompt for today, though, is probably the wackiest prompt I've seen in a while, which is, what if the German king was a terrorist? Well, let's get into it then, I guess. The year is 1888, and Wilhelm II has just been crowned Kaiser of the German Empire. The empire is celebrating, and the future looks bright for Germany. Wilhelm was raised by the collective royal families that had ruled over Europe at the time, but issues during his childhood caused him to become stubborn and arrogant, which was, in our timeline, something that would end up guiding many of his decisions and ultimately lead to his downfall. By June of 1914, the German Empire had been rapidly expanding spending for their military, and the peace of Europe seemed intact. The German economy was thriving, and an extremely nationalistic and patriotic culture was felt throughout the country. Over the past few years, Wilhelm began to make many visits among his populace, and was quite delighted to see their extreme patriotism and devotion to his empire, which led him to grow quite fond of his people's culture. This devotion caused the naturally stubborn Wilhelm to open up to his people's customs and culture in a manner quite unusual for 19th century Europe. He began to adopt the Germanic identity as his own, including the extreme nationalistic and militaristic pride of Germany. As Wilhelm grew in his leadership, he began to notice the technological difference between Germany and its neighbors. The Russian Empire was still a backwards agrarian society, and French industrialization was nothing compared to the industry of Germany. Most importantly, however, he took note of the unstable rule of his ally, Austria-Hungary. His German brothers in Austria-Hungary were being stifled by the Serbs, Hungarians, and Slavs, he reasoned. This gave Wilhelm a daring idea, one which would involve intense planning and secrecy in order to work. Wilhelm sought to unite his Austrian Germanic brothers with Germany, and to prove to the world that the German people were the greatest people to walk the face of the earth. Wilhelm founded a facade group known as the Black Hand, a group from which he could operate schemes without revealing himself as the true perpetrator. He disguised the Black Hand publicly as a Serbian revolutionary group, and carried out terror attacks across ethnically Serbian regions of Austria-Hungary by paying off Serbs who were willing to revolt against the Austrians. Finally, Wilhelm hatched the final scheme of his plan to consolidate power in Austria, which was to take out the heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, a somewhat irrelevant archduke by the name of Franz Ferdinand. Ferdinand was a reformer and a Serbian apologist, which Wilhelm found revolting. Using the Serbs to weaken the failed government of Austria-Hungary was one thing, Wilhelm thought, but appeasing them is an entirely different heresy. Ferdinand would be an easy target to take out by Wilhelm's guess, so he hired a group of Bosnian and Serbian revolutionaries to assassinate the Archduke during his visit to Sarajevo. So, on June 28, 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated. The Austrians had no competent leadership in line to take the throne, so they acted quickly. Franz Joseph of Austria ordered a declaration of war on Serbia, who he, like everyone else, believed to be responsible for the attack. The Austrians expected Germany to abide by their alliance and help them defend against a potential attack from Russia, who was allied to Serbia. However, as the Austrians mobilized south towards Serbia, Germany swiftly attacked from the north. This surprise attack through Bohemia was nearly impossible to predict, and as more German troops flooded through the lowlands of Bohemia and made their way towards Vienna, there was nothing the Austrians could do. The Germans took control of most of the ethnically German and Italian lands in Austria-Hungary, along with the rest of what is now Czechia. What remained of the Austrian government fled to Budapest, and Austrian troops were then quickly surrounded by Serbian revolutionaries and infantry. Russia, barely having any time to mobilize, began to occupy parts of Galicia, but Tsar Nicholas II ordered his troops to remain halted so that the situation could be assessed. After only 9 weeks of fighting, the poorly trained and ineffective Austrian army was defeated and dissipated, and Wilhelm and Nicholas agreed on the partitioning of Austria-Hungary, with the ethnically German, Italian, and Czech lands going to Germany, and the easternmost sliver of Galicia being given to Russia. Serbia was given what is now Bosnia, and the remains of the government in Budapest were organized into a loose Hungarian state, which quickly succumbed to revolts and chaos. Franz Joseph fled to Italy, where he would live in Trieste for the rest of his life. Now, with the German peoples once again united, Wilhelm set his sights westward. He managed to work out an alliance with the United Kingdom, meaning that their military capabilities were now greater than ever. As Germany continued industrializing, Wilhelm ordered the secret production of new military technology, which resulted in the creation of the first Panzer. On October 17, 1918, explosions rang out in Western Europe. Belfort, Nancy, and Verdun, France were all rocked by violent terror attacks. In Belgium, King Albert I was killed in a shooting in Brussels. In Amsterdam, Prince Henry, the pro-German ruler of the Netherlands, declared war on Belgium and France. The next day, Britain and Germany followed suit, as British troops landed in French Brittany. The quest to unite the Germans and the Anglo-Saxons had only just begun, as an era of war and ethnic strife was upon the European continent. And that's where we're gonna leave this scenario off. Like I said, the submissions for this contest were absolutely fantastic. I want to give a big thanks to Jacob Peterson for creating this scenario, but I also want to thank everyone else who participated, particularly the Marm, who submitted the hilarious scenario called Scar Wilhelm, which you can check out in my Discord server with the link in the description. So, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to stick around. And hey, you can even maybe subscribe or something. Well, till next time, see ya.